says in the UK, I wonder if it catches this bit at the beginning or not. I see 10 seconds have gone by all the time.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to
what I just read with Alison, looking very purpley. Michael looking very red. Me looking very dull and blue.
And the jingle.
Right. And we had funny readings today for St. Michael and All Angels.
Right.
Which is
Michael.
Which is
funny when the word Michael comes in there.
Yeah,
funny things happen.
Yeah.
So it's your day today, Michael.
It's my saint's day.
It's your name day.
Yeah. And I like the Russians' theory about this. It's very nice. It's like birthdays. You should actually celebrate the parents because they were the ones kind of doing all the work on your birthday. But actually, the person should celebrate their saint day.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Which is often on your birthday.
Could be, but
because quite often I know it's not your birthday.
Exactly, not my birthday, but
happy birthday.
It's happy birthday. Yes, I'm happy to my birthday.
Celebrate with cake.
Cake. Any excuse for a cake. Exactly. Not that you need much excuse for
do you know, the first reading was from Tobit, and that's really interesting because we were somewhere. Where were we? The Hermitage.
Yes.
And we saw a painting of somebody coming and healing. Who was it? Who was blind in the story?
Right.
And Alison asked and said, "What's that all about?" And I said, "It's the Book of Tobit."
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yeah. Anyway.
So I'm not very good on the Book of Tobit.
So Tobit, is it one of those funny books? I mean, not funny. I mean,
It's an apocryphal book. It's
right, which
in between the Old Testament and the New Testament.
And not always
Hasn't been chosen to be in the canon now.
Accepted as second deuterocanonical, having sort of a second authority, particularly in the Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, less so in Protestant churches, although still respected.
Right, that's a great word you said.
Deuterocanonical. I was going to say
great word.
Love that word.
Love that word.
Second.
Canon is the sort of law, the acceptance, the canon of scripture, or the sort of the books that are in the scripture.
That's why we can't do this without Malcolm, because he just knows words.
Well, no.
Well, next time we're going to bring that into our conversation next time. Right?
Exactly, you've got to slip that in.
Yeah.
Okay. So Raphael, so who are Tobit and Tobias here?
I knew you were going to ask that question.
Okay, I can take it back.
We can take the question back.
Right.
We know who Raphael is.
He's
an archangel.
He's obviously one of Michael's mates, right?
Yes.
Because the two of them go and do stuff together.
Yeah.
Interesting. He talks about 7 angels being in the presence of God, coming and going, and 7 being the perfect number. So it's probably a symbolic number. But it is how he appears, Raphael appears to them as a human being. Often when we think of angels, we think of creatures with wings. Actually, most of the times angels appear in the Bible, they appear as ordinary human beings.
Right.
In Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews says, don't neglect to offer hospitality, for in doing so, some have entertained angels without being aware.
Right.
And, yes.
Isn't that the famous story of the 3 angels being entertained by
Abraham and Sarah?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Right. It's also quite interesting about the alms giving here in the goals. It's better to give a little bit of righteousness than wealth with wrongdoing. That was an interesting line. Alms giving is that what? Just like giving a little, or
Giving
just
away
giving a
money.
percentage?
Giving away.
Alms is just giving. Almsgiving is just giving.
Right. Okay.
Better than saying it's better than prayer with fasting is good, but better is almsgiving.
Right.
With righteousness.
And also another interesting thing here about it was bought. So now when you and Sarah prayed, it was I who bought and read the record of your prayer before the glory of the Lord. And I thought that's interesting. You say a record of your prayer.
And who is he talking to?
Is this someone keeping a ledger with
you and Sarah? So Sarah and I was suddenly thought Abraham, but it
wasn't.
No, it's Tobias.
It was Tobias and Sarah.
Yes, yeah.
It was I who brought and read the record of your prayer. I suppose it's the angel, taking the prayer.
Right.
Being the messenger of the prayer.
Yeah, that's right.
Being the conduit.
Because that comes in, doesn't it? That he's a conduit. That he actually takes.
And if you think about that ladder that appears above Jacob when he's sleeping in the Old Testament, he's run away. He's depressed. He's sleeping, and he has a dream of a ladder of angels descending and ascending on it, almost, if you like, taking up the prayers, bringing down the
Right.
answers. And then Jesus radically transforms that by saying, actually, you'll see angels ascending and descending on me.
Right.
In other words, he becomes that person. He becomes that way. So,
and just one other thing with them being frightened. So often, when you hear about angels, I was thinking, oh, there's lots of angels in the Bible. Why have they chosen this one? But it just made me think. So often with angels, you get this: "Do not be afraid."
Yeah.
You always seem to get this. I mean, obviously, you can imagine if you met an angel,
Angel.
you thought it was an angel, you would be afraid.
It reminds you of the sort of shepherds, doesn't it? Sort of.
Mary and all those.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not be afraid. Yeah.
and of course, angel means messenger. That's what angel means.
Oh,
means messenger.
that's interesting.
Right.
Great.
And then yes, the reading that we had a few days ago,
Acts
Acts
12. Yeah.
and I guess chosen because here an angel comes
Again, as a person, like you were saying.
and brings Peter from prison.
And is that Michael, do we think? Could be.
It
doesn't say.
It doesn't say. Probably just a minion.
Right. And it's interesting because we know minions. We love the minions. They're great. Yes. Of course, we now know this all had a very sticky ending because the next verse that I was reading after this, Peter goes and knocks on the door of someone's home and they forget to let him in because they're all too excited. He's actually standing in the street. It's kind of fun. Well, I mean, kind of funny, but not fun for him. And then the guards come to a sticky ending, don't they?
They do. They get the blame for it.
Right.
I mean, there's so much about angels, and I have to say, a lot of, I think, sort of fairly doubtful stuff spoken about angels. But clearly there is a real ministry of angels, and yet I think the balance as Christians is again at the beginning of Hebrews. God says, but actually I've given you the angels, but I've given you the Son, my Son, who is so much greater, and also so much more immediate and intimate to us.
There's also that verse about, and I've made you a little lower than the angels.
Yes, that's Psalm 8, but
Yes.
in order to crown you with glory and honour. And that's quoted again in Hebrews chapter 1 as well.
Right.
Lovely.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. And hope to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, and have a great Michael and All Angels Day.
Yes,
So
happy Michael's Day.
And recommend lots of cake. Yes. And celebrate Julie.